how this vision came to be, I mean, is an emerging phenomenon, right? It's kind of using nature as a teacher. I just burnt out really badly in my previous project or previous company. And I just knew that things had to change. I had no mindfulness practice. My relationships were tense. And I was just a workaholic from the moment I woke up to the moment I went to sleep. I was always on edge. Just didn't feel good. And then I got sick. And I remember also I was being wheeled into the hospital room for surgery. I just made this conscious decision. Everything had to change. And from that point on, I had the luxury of having space to travel and really embed myself in different practices. I started with Vipassana and then breath work and the 5 rhythms and other different modalities. And I realized that in order to support my own behavioral change, I really needed the support of community. It's just easier to do things and hold yourself accountable when you do it with other people. So that was kind of, let's say, the first little smidgens of the arising of what would then become something called Primal. And then I landed in Portugal, where I thought, okay, I would really love a nice sense of community to support each other, to learn and empower ourselves with tools to take better care of ourselves. And so I started these little gatherings and little pods around that as a concept. And Primal's name origin comes from the idea of allowing oneself to return to one's primal nature, right? Just the acceptance and also the animalistic, less domestication side of who we actually are. And so that was how it kind of started. When it went from Primal to Primal Gathering was when there were these huge wildfires that were taking place in Portugal in 2017, and the country was absolutely devastated. It comes as a consequence of monocultures of eucalyptus based on paper trade, some political weavings that support more monocultures being planted in the country. And so I just felt a sense of first helplessness, but also we were doing these kind of half-day gatherings at the time, and people were sitting around in a circle feeling very nourished and very transformed, talking about a new world and a new paradigm and how we were the change. But I just felt like a little sense of emptiness in it, in the sense of, but what are we actually contributing? And that's kind of where Primal Gathering was born. The idea that service and being of service to something bigger than ourselves is a muscle that needs to be exercised. And if we were to do that in a place of community, and in this case to be in service of nature, we can practice or reweave the cultural framework that we need in order to really shift us towards a culture of regeneration. To add to that, landowners are generally quite under-resourced and need a lot of support with really big regenerative aims for those types of landowners. And you also have landowners who give in to political motivations to plant, for example, further monocultures because they get paid to then grow those eucalyptus trees. So how can we also create a sense of inspiration and motivation to plant biodiverse species as opposed to monocultures that bring in a certain amount of revenue, for example. So there felt like there was this beautiful opportunity to merge two objectives. The first objective being participants' desire and need to learn tools to self-empower and learn basic principles like taking care of themselves through quality nutrition, having a daily mindfulness practice to ground oneself, be able to respond to life as opposed to react to life, having discipline and rebuilding integrity through time management, which is a sticky subject, creating space for inspiration and creativity, which is where the arts and the music kind of play for it. And then the second focus is how can we support landowners, right? So participants have this desire to learn about self-empowerment tools, but also about how they can reorientate themselves and connect with the land. And landowners have these needs, but usually not very many people to support them with just the objectives that they have in mind. So how can we basically build a bridge between the worlds and create bespoke gathering opportunities that benefit the landowner? Because we bring in 100 to 150, maybe soon 200 people to their land to create mass action to support their needs, whilst the participants receiving so much new information and also the ability to connect with nature which goes outside of the intellect and more into one's body and hearts. And that's basically, I guess, the short, or not really that short, story of the inception of Primal Gathering.